It's time for Dave Day here on Community NEPA News. I'm Ken Carr with Dave Seaman, Standard Speaker Sports Editor. We do have some great local athletes. Dave, let's take a look back at some of them who had fantastic falls. Of course, whenever we do things like this, you're going to leave some of them out, but make sure you go back in the Standard Speaker. And here on SSP TV, we featured many of our high school athletes this past fall. Dave, I'm thinking of Nate Boyle off the top of my head because I want to get to Tamaqua and do an interview with him. I mean, he just does everything, and he's been doing it for so long with Tamaqua. You think of rushing for over 300 yards in a game, kicking extra points, field goals, getting interceptions. I mean, he was your athlete of the week, I believe, recently. He's very impressive.
He wants to be in the middle of the action all the time, and you know, he's a fun athlete to cover because if you like old-time athletes who gave it their all every single play, not that they all don't, because they do. When they're committed to sport, our athletes are really top-notch, but he's a step above when it comes to that.
And Dave, it's not just that. You know, sometimes you might want to be out there for all those plays, you just can't because maybe your skill set doesn't lend to that. Nate Boyle just seems to have it all, where he can be so good on defense and special teams and everywhere. Dave, in the beginning of the cross-country season, I remember I was with the Hazelton area Cougar boys cross-country team talking with Zach Kiner and a few runners there, and they mentioned just how much they all wanted to get to states this year. I think Zach had been there previously, and all of his teammates were like, we just wanted to get there so bad, and they were able to accomplish that this year, winning that District 2 championship. And thinking of Gabe McKittrick as well, having a great season. It was nice to see them accomplish that goal from the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that they were a fun story because if you remember, they lost their first meet this year against Crestwood, and you know, they had an uphill struggle. To get back where they wanted to be in the Wyoming Valley Conference, and then put themselves in position to contend for a district title. And when they got to the district meet at Lakeland, you know, lo and behold, that's where they were. They finished a couple points ahead of Williamsport for the sub-regional championship, and you know, it was Zach leading the way. But like I said, Gabe McKittrick had an outstanding season. Nick Cable, it was a fun team to follow in print, and Eric Schultz of our sister paper in Wilkes-Barre at the Citizens Voice did a fabulous job covering the team this year. And again, a fun team to watch, and when you're rewarded with a championship, all that hard work pays off.
Dave, let's talk about the Hazelton area boys and girls soccer teams, because I've been wanting to tell this story for a while. You know, I love soccer. I was playing down at the Pine Street Playground one day, and as usual, my team was not scoring goals and not doing very well. And all of a sudden, this younger guy volunteers to help us out, and I think he had 6 or 7 goals. And I saw his picture in the Standard Speaker this season. I was like, that was Gabe Fabian, who was helping us out, scoring all these goals, and he carried that over into his high school season for the Hazelton area boys soccer team, and the girls as well, Dave, who played for, I think, a district championship this year. Caitlin Ketcher coming from the softball field where she had success, and then having a lot of success in goal for the Lady Cougars.
Yeah, both of those teams had outstanding athletes, and they had, you know, better than seasons than they've had in the past few years. And you know, I got to see them a few times, both of those teams, and I know Coach Ryan Scarcella will say, don't come and see us, because every time I go see them, they happen to lose. But before that, in between that, they had a lot of success this season. They beat Wyoming Valley West this year 2-0, and when you look back at it, Wyoming Valley West battled Crestwood for the district championship in Class 3A, I believe, and you know, beating Wyoming Valley West at Wyoming Valley West, that's nothing to sneeze at. And they had a successful season. You look at the girls' side too; they won a district playoff game for the first time in, I believe, 8 years, 7, 8 years. You know, and they had fun playing the game too. There were always smiles on their face. Coach Jim Paisley was very accommodating after games, you know, helping us out, you know, with names, and just like I said, Caitlin Catcher in goal was fabulous too. And they went to Williamsport this year, a team that's perennially a top-notch team in the District 2-4 sub-region, and they gave Williamsport all they could handle. I mean, the offense wasn't there, but defensively, you know, they stood their ground. They didn't win that game, but they got to the district final against Delaware Valley again, another hard-fought loss, but they showed that they arrived a little bit.
Dave, I said something recently in one of my stories that I think is profound, but it might be nonsense. I'm hoping to get some clarification for you. Through years of doing this, and I think we experienced it with one team we covered this year when we did the podcast with the Hazelton area girls golf team, that friendships can lead into or build up to championships. We saw just how close that team was. When I interviewed the MMI girls volleyball team, I saw just how close they were with their friendships, both of those teams competing for championships. Do you think that that is true? Now, talent has to be mixed in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, team chemistry. You can't beat team chemistry. You don't have to like each other all the time. I mean, you hear that as you cover sports. You don't have to like each other all the time. But when it's important, when you're on the field or you're on the court together, and that bond that you have with your teammates, that's something that can never be broken. And you only get to experience it once. I mean, you're a high school athlete. You go through that cycle only once in your life. So you got to make the best of it. And the teams do that are usually the most successful.
All right, Dave, thank you so much for your time today. Make sure you're reading his work in the Standard Speaker. You can watch him here on Community NEPA News.